Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You're tuning in to episode 4 of module 3 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I'm your co-host, Ben.
And I'm Anna. Welcome back, everyone. We are charging through our Conversational Engine module, and I am so excited for today's topic.
In episode 3, we gave you the ultimate diplomatic tool belt. We showed you how to navigate tricky disagreements using the yes-but method. We taught you how to soften your opinions with words like actually and however, and how to use the phrase fair enough to gracefully exit a debate.
You guys really took that lesson to heart. We've been reading your field reports in the comments, and it's amazing to see you intentionally leaning into those low-stakes arguments instead of running away from them. That's how you build confidence.
But today, we're flipping the script. Up until now, we focused heavily on what you are saying, how you present your thoughts, your opinions, and your small talk. Today, we're going to show you how to take the spotlight off yourself and put it entirely on the person you're talking to. Today's topic is asking better questions.
Before we dive into the psychology of a great question, we've got our usual small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this 50-episode journey and you're getting value out of our conversational toolkit, please hit that like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
It's the best way to support the show, and it helps the algorithm push this content to other learners who are struggling to make native-speaking friends. Thanks for being here with us.
Now, Ben, let's talk about the magical superpower of asking questions. For an English learner, asking a good question is the ultimate conversational hack.
It really is a cheat code. When you're speaking a second language, you naturally feel a lot of pressure to perform. You feel like you have to constantly generate perfectly grammatical sentences to keep the conversation alive. It's exhausting.
But when you ask a truly great question, you completely remove that pressure. You pass the microphone to the other person, they get to do all the heavy lifting, they do all the talking, and you get to relax, listen, and mentally prepare for your next response.
And the best part is, human beings absolutely love talking about themselves. Psychology studies have shown that when people talk about their own experiences and opinions, the pleasure centers of their brains light up.
Exactly. If you ask someone a great question and let them talk for 5 minutes, they'll walk away from the conversation thinking you are the most charismatic, fascinating person they've ever met, even if you only spoke for 30 seconds.
But here's the catch. Not all questions are created equal. Most English learners rely on what we call closed questions. This is the fastest way to kill a conversation.
Let's define that. A closed question is any question that can be answered with a simple yes or a no. Do you like your job? Yes. Did you watch the game last night? No. Are you from California? Yes.
These questions are conversational dead ends. They give the other person an immediate exit. If I ask you, "Did you have a good weekend?" and you say yes, where do I go from there? I have to instantly invent another question to keep the silence away. It turns the conversation into a police interrogation.
Right. Question, answer, question, answer. It feels unnatural and stressful for both people. Native speakers naturally avoid closed questions in casual settings. Instead, we use open-ended questions.
An open-ended question is impossible to answer with just a yes or a no. It requires the listener to elaborate, to tell a story, or to explain their feelings. It opens the door and invites them inside.
The standard open questions begin with the classic WH words: who, what, where, when, why, and how. But even with these words, learners sometimes stumble into closed question territory.
For example, asking, "When did you move here?" is technically an open question, but the answer is still just a short fact. 2 years ago. It doesn't spark a deep conversation.
So, we want to teach you a specific framework for generating deeply open questions. We call it the TED framework. T.E.D. Tell me, explain, and describe.
Let's break down the TED framework, starting with the letter T. Tell me. This is such a powerful conversational opener. It's actually a command disguised as a friendly invitation.
Instead of asking, "Was your vacation fun?" you say, "Tell me about your vacation to Hawaii." The phrase, "tell me about," gives them a blank canvas. They can talk about the flight, the food, the hotel, the weather. They get to choose the direction of the story.
You can use this for anything. Tell me about your new project at work. Tell me about your dog. Tell me about how you met your wife. It's an incredibly warm, native-sounding phrase.
Moving on to the letter E. Explain. This is fantastic when you're talking about someone's hobbies, their job, or their opinions. It appeals to their expertise. People love feeling like an expert.
If someone says they work in software development, don't ask, "Is your job hard?" Ask, "Can you explain what a typical day looks like for you?" Or, "Explain to me how that new app actually works."
When you say, "explain to me," you're willingly taking the position of the student and elevating them to the position of the teacher. It's incredibly flattering. It shows genuine curiosity.
And finally, the letter D in the TED framework stands for describe. This is a brilliant tool for tapping into someone's emotions and sensory experiences.
Instead of asking, "Do you like living in Colorado?" Ben, how would you ask that using the word describe?
I would say, describe what it's like waking up in the mountains every day. That question completely changes the vibe. I'm not asking for a factual yes or no, I'm asking for a feeling.
Describe the atmosphere at that concert you went to. Describe the craziest thing that happened on your road trip. It forces the speaker to paint a picture with their words.
Tell me. Explain. Describe. If you start wrapping your questions in these 3 words, your conversations will instantly become 10 times deeper and more engaging.
Now, let's talk about a very specific type of question that native speakers use to build deep emotional connections. We call these hypothetical questions.
Oh, hypotheticals are the absolute best. A hypothetical question asks the person to imagine a fake scenario and tell you how they would react. It completely removes the pressure of talking about their real, stressful lives.
These are amazing for parties, networking events, or when you're just grabbing coffee with a coworker and you're tired of talking about spreadsheets.
A classic hypothetical starts with the phrase, "if you could." If you could live anywhere in the world for 1 year, where would it be?
Or, if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would you choose? These questions are playful. They show that you're creative and fun to be around.
Notice the grammar we're using there. We're using the second conditional. If you could, if you had to. We're talking about an unreal situation in the present or future. But don't stress about the grammar rules right now. Just memorize the chunks. If you could, what would you do if?
What would you do if you won the lottery tomorrow? That single question can fuel a 30-minute conversation. It reveals their values, their dreams, and their sense of humor. It's a massive upgrade from, "Do you like your job?"
Another powerful questioning technique is what we call the emotional pivot. A lot of times, learners will ask a factual question, get a factual answer, and then the conversation dies.
Right. You ask, "How long have you been working here?" They say, 5 years. Silence. You hit a wall.
To avoid that wall, you have to pivot from the factual to the emotional. You follow up their fact with a question about how they feel about that fact.
They say, "I've been working here for 5 years. You pivot and ask, "Wow, what's been the most challenging part of the job over that time?" Or, "What's kept you here for so long?"
You take the raw data and you ask for the human experience behind it. What was the hardest part about moving to a new city? What's your favorite thing about being a parent? What was the most surprising thing about traveling to Japan?
Using words like hardest, favorite, most surprising, or most challenging forces the speaker to evaluate their emotions. It guarantees a deeply personal and interesting response.
But we also have to talk about cultural boundaries. While asking questions is great, there are certain topics that are considered off-limits in casual English conversations, especially with people you don't know very well.
This is a crucial cultural lesson. In some cultures, asking about someone's age, their salary, or their rent is completely normal small talk. But in American and British culture, asking direct financial or highly personal questions can make people extremely uncomfortable.
It's considered very rude to ask someone, how much money do you make? Or how much did you pay for your house? Even asking someone their exact age can be a bit of a landmine, depending on the context.
We also generally avoid asking people why they aren't married yet or when they're going to have children. Those are highly sensitive personal choices. Stick to the Ford method we taught you in episode 2. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
Keep your questions focused on their hobbies, their opinions on pop culture, their travel experiences, and their general thoughts on their career. Keep it positive and forward-looking.
Let's demonstrate all of this with a role play. We're going to show you 2 versions of a conversation. The first version is going to be the typical closed question interrogation that English learners often get trapped in.
I'll be the learner, and I'll bombard Anna with closed yes or no questions. Notice how awkward and disjointed this feels.
Ready when you are.
Hi, Anna. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, I did.
Did you go to the beach?
No, I didn't. I stayed home.
Do you like staying home?
Yes, it's relaxing.
Are you tired today?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And scene. That was painful. Ben was doing all the work, constantly searching his brain for the next question, and I was giving him absolutely nothing to work with because his questions were so restrictive.
It felt like pulling teeth. Now, let's rewind and do it again. This time, I'm going to use the T.E.D framework, an emotional pivot, and an open-ended WH question. Let's see how much smoother it flows.
Take 2.
Hey, Anna. Tell me about your weekend. Did you get up to anything fun?
Oh, it was pretty low-key. I actually spent the whole weekend trying to bake sourdough bread from scratch. It was kind of a disaster, honestly.
Oh, wow. Baking bread from scratch sounds intense. What was the hardest part about the process?
Definitely the yeast. I couldn't get the temperature right, so the dough just didn't rise at all. It came out of the oven looking like a hockey puck.
Oh, no, that's hilarious. Well, if you had to bake something else next weekend to redeem yourself, what would you try to make?
Probably just chocolate chip cookies. It's really hard to mess those up, right?
And scene. Look at the difference. By simply asking, "Tell me about your weekend," I gave Anna the runway to tell a funny story about baking bread.
And instead of just saying, "That's too bad," Ben used an emotional pivot. He asked, "What was the hardest part?" That forced me to explain the exact problem I had with the yeast.
And then I capped it off with a hypothetical question. If you had to bake something else, what would you make? We created a fun, engaging 2-minute conversation, and I barely had to say anything at all.
That is the power of asking better questions. It turns you into a conversational conductor. You aren't playing all the instruments, you're just guiding the orchestra.
It takes the pressure off your grammar, it makes the other person feel valued, and it creates genuine human connection. It's the ultimate tool in your social toolkit.
Which brings us to your mission for episode 4. We want you to test out the T.E.D framework in the real world.
Your homework for this week is the open-ended challenge. In your next 3 English conversations, Whether it's at work, at a coffee shop, or chatting with a friend online, you are completely banned from asking yes or no questions.
Tell me about your day. Explain your favorite restaurant in the city.
Pay attention to how the other person responds. Notice how much longer their answers are, and notice how much less pressure you feel to keep coming up with new topics. Let them guide the flow.
After you've completed your challenge, come down into the comments section. Tell us which of the TED words you used, and tell us the most interesting answer you received. We love reading your field reports.
You guys are building some serious conversational momentum. You know how to start the engine with small talk, you know how to navigate the bumps with polite disagreement, and now you know how to steer the car with great questions.
But what happens when they answer your great question and you need to respond? In our next episode, episode 5, we're going to talk about the art of the follow-up.
We're going to show you how to use active listening phrases, how to validate their stories, and how to seamlessly link their experiences back to your own. It's the secret sauce for building deep rapport.
It's the perfect companion to today's lesson, and you won't want to miss it.
But for today, focus on passing the microphone. Use the TED framework. Ask an emotional pivot. Let them do the talking.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben.
If you're excited to start asking better questions, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Keep passing the microphone. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
a piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.